Opposing genocide, not terrorism.
Defending Palestine is not a crime.
Stop the charges now.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
All these people here from the Merseyside Pensioners Association, they've all travelled up. We're paying for all our comrades to come here to support the Liverpool 3. We are very proud because they feel as strongly as I do, as any of us do, that we have to oppose genocide and we have to fight for our own freedom of speech, our right to protest. And they've had to pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds each one. Me and my husband, I think it's £250, but we had to travel up yesterday. Otherwise it would have cost us £500 because they scheduled my summons for 9:30 in London when you live in Liverpool. £500 those tickets were for the two of us to come up here. They've put these kangaroos on here because they view the trial as being, not very democratic, very inconvenient, almost impossible to get to for a lot of people. And they look at it as a kangaroo court. I think we should be appealing to the magistrates. They're only ordinary people. They should be believing in justice. They should be believing in peace. You know what today is? It's Remembrance Day. We're supposed to be remembering people who are wearing red poppies walking past us now outside this court. What do they think these people died for? They died fighting fascism. They died to fight for the freedom of speech and the freedoms that we enjoyed. But to be honest with you, they're slowly being taken from us. It is authoritarianism. It's dancing with fascism. It really is. And once these laws are used to silence people protesting for peace against war, they'll use them against anybody. They'll use them against the trade union movement, and people are prepared to give up their freedoms. Thousands of us, there's thousands of us who, want to see Palestine Action unprescribed. Let's face it, that's what we're campaigning for. We're campaigning for three things: freedom of speech, against genocide, and for the deprescription of Palestine Action. Today, this is a plea and case management appearance. I expect, I don't know for sure, that we're given a trial date and that we plead, and I'm not sure what else because I'm still waiting for the lawyer and a barrister's representative to turn up here. So, yeah. It'll all be new to me. I've never been called a terrorist in my life before. I've never been up in court before. At the 11th hour, on the 11th of the 11th, think about us who are standing in court having our rights suppressed because we oppose the bloodshed, the death and destruction that wars cause, and the genocide rampant throughout Palestine must be stopped. Any genocide must be stopped.
I voted against prescription of Palestine Action. I don't believe we should describe protest as terrorism at all, and I'll be calling on the government now to lift the prescription. What I'm particularly worried about is that Audrey White, who I've known over the years, who's a brilliant campaigner on Merseyside, but also nationally, the way in which she was arrested, treated quite brutally as well by the police, and now is on trial today. So I'm hoping that the court sees sense, dismiss this case and allow Audrey to go about her normal life. And part of her normal life is campaigning for peace and justice for the Palestinian people. Thanks a lot.
So are you here as an advocate or observer?
Supporter of Audrey White, in the hope that the court will now dismiss this case. Okay? Cheers.
Thanks, John.
John and I have stood up for civil liberties all our lives, and when the Terrorism Act 2000 came in, John was there as well. Tony Benn, myself and others intervened on Jack Straw and said this will this will make civil disobedience impossible. Jack Straw told us straight down the line, it will not. It will always protect civil liberties. It doesn't, it hasn't, and it won't.
What are you expecting from the court today? What do you think is realistic?
I've been in and outside many courts in my life, and I've always felt it's unwise to go there with any expectation at all, except that we will do our best to put our case of the right to protest, put our case that Audrey and all the others are not terrorists. They're people who believe in justice, believe in peace, and do not believe in the bombardment of the people of Gaza.
I saw that there were people protesting in front of the court, and I saw that they were protesting for against the prescription of Palestine Action, and it's actually as all matters that have to do with our rights, our right to free speech and right to protest. I wanted to stop.
Are you surprised that the British government has actually passed legislation to proscribe a direct action group?
Yeah, surprised I think is not the right word. I think I was shocked. I was literally shocked. But I mean, unfortunately, the space for dissent is reducing dramatically in front of our eyes, particularly when it comes to fighting against, or maybe for the Palestinian cause. So you see that there are so many double standards that have been exposed that actually I wasn't surprised, but I was shocked.
Can you tell me briefly where are you from?
I'm from Italy, but I've been in the UK for 18 years. I work here. I used to be at the United Nations in Geneva when that was my first job. So I am a lawyer. I am passionate about human rights.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Audrey's very active and vociferous and very strong in her challenges for injustices, and has been consistent throughout her life doing that. But I'm concerned that we don't reduce everything to personalities, because it's much bigger and much more significant. What's happening in Britain is the erosion of the social contract, after the Second World War. All of the welfare rights should be linked together. Unionised rights, education, health service, our wages are going down. The social fragment of Britain is being destroyed by neoliberalism and fascism. The fight to overthrow particularly the health service, which was one of the biggest symbols of socialism in play, and its effectiveness for the good of so many people. That was a real challenge to the neoliberals and to the fascists. And from the Second World War onwards, they have put procedures in place to slowly erode it. And now that we can see that has worked, sadly, we've been, sleepwalking into disaster. And we've been let down by our unions, we've been let down by so many people that we trusted to represent and to fight for the interests of the vast majority of people in this country. We've let it all go. And to be honest, I think those of us on the left need to be humble about and show some humility for our failing to act when it was appropriate for one way or another. We thought we were, but we weren't. We were as ignorant of the processes as people are now who are not informed. We've a lot to learn and a lot to change and a lot to put in place. And we want Audrey free.
Well, the first woman was on video, and she hadn't prepared. They all want you to prepare a preparation for efficient trial, right? PET form. She hadn't done that, so the judge filled it in for her, and she said, "Well, I'm looking. I dispute it. I'm looking my Article 10 rights, and so at least that was put into the pet. The next person who came in, a young woman, she was very determined. She was in the dock, and the judge and the prosecutor agreed amongst themselves to edit the arresting police officer's witness statement, because she was saying, I believe it was an unlawful arrest, and she had put that information about what happened in her pet form, and they are going to edit out the witness statement from the police. And she's a very determined young woman, so I'm sure she will progress things, but it was absolutely outrageous what was done there. Outrageous, a scandal, perverting the course of justice and colluding in that.
There's nothing really to report. It's just been adjourned until 11:45, which is, it's only 20 minutes. And I don't know the reason for adjournments.
I think it's probably just to give the judge maybe a rest.
Yeah. There's been, I think there's been 4 cases. The last case I wasn't too sure of, but the first 3 were all to do with Palestine. And people being, they were saying that they weren't holding banners supporting Palestine Action. They were opposing the prescription of Palestine Action. So they were the 3 cases, but they've all been given trial dates. I think one woman has been given a trial for January, and the 2 others have been given a trial for June.
Is that all, like 3 cases?
Three cases, that's all I've heard all the time we've been in here. Yeah.
Since
this morning, yeah.
Justice is disappearing. What was just in the 70s, it's a different meaning now, isn't it? The way they've been changing the laws to work for certain powers, the way they've been changing the laws to, and we've got to get these laws changed, and whatever we can do, we'll try.
John, how you doing? Good. What's happened is that the arrangements for the trial are for June next year, and obviously the High Court decision will be at the end of November, so we'll know what the High Court decides and whether these cases go ahead at all. But Audrey and a whole range of cases, timetable for June next year. Okay.
Thanks very much, John.
What I thought was interesting so far was that one of the individuals who was unrepresented at the start asked a question which was, what are the costs of holding this and carrying out this prosecution? And before doing that, she asked if the judge would answer some questions, and he seemed reasonably happy to do so. But the minute she had asked that question, his answer was, I don't know, and he seemed to get quite frustrated at the fact that such a question was being asked. So I thought that was quite revealing. Is it really in the public interest to carry out these prosecutions, and whose interests are these courts serving?
Viva, oh Palestina, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Viva, viva, oh Palestina, we'll be free from the river to the sea.
To the sea. To the sea. Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
It was bedlam, to be fair. It took hours and hours, and it's quite intimidating because you really are treated like, criminal, terrorist, whatever, and you're behind, you're in one of these glass cages, which I think, you can hardly hear through them because they've only got little slats. And this, very, very powerful judge, he was some head sharang. But basically, they put the case. We pleaded not guilty, obviously, and then we've been put to trial. We're being put to trial on the 4th of June next year, 2026. We are making some. We did make protest some things. Some of the statements from the police are going to be completely disregarded because I was just ready to fight word for word. Although you don't get a chance to say that, but the representation from the barrister, puts it to the judge, and I just thought it was like being in a dream, because you really don't think anybody in their right mind can be serious about this action. Labelling people we are the peace people, labelling us as under Terrorism Act, and charging us under Terrorist Act. It's just like a nightmare, really. I knew what I was doing when I decided to oppose genocide, and I'm now fighting to de-prescribe Palestine Action. And you have to be proud of all of us. There's thousands of us who are doing this. So we're doing it we're sacrificing our freedom if that's what happens, because it's the least you can do. We all talk about what you should do at Nazi Germany, and we all stood there for 2 minutes today talking about, remembering all those people who've died in all the wars. But we have to remember a lot of those wars were fighting fascism. And that's what we're doing now. That's exactly the way, we feel about Netanyahu, Trump, and in this country as well, and this authoritarian government that we've got has no resemblance to anything that will ever represent working class people. So I think the whole thing is it's strange that people who you think must be rational, they're judges, but they can sit there seriously, and look you in the eye, and when you try to say something else, oh hang on, no, this is you be quiet sort of thing. You're not allowed to say anything, because I did try to say a few things. I did say about the 2 minute silence, for people who died in the wars, if we're standing, if you're wearing a poppy today, what are you wearing a poppy for? Unless you support what we're doing, and unless you support people who are opposing genocide, and unless you are campaigning for freedom of speech, which is what we're doing, is all those things.
What kind of a country is it where you can be prosecuted for having not even a placard? It wasn't a proper placard. It was a piece of paper where we had handwritten, I'm against genocide, and where it was handwritten that we support Palestine Action. Palestine Action should never have been prescribed. They are not a terrorist organisation. Everybody knows what real terrorism is. It's people who plant bombs or shoot people or kill people. That's terrorism, not what that set up in there was trying to set us up for.
How does it make you feel that you're being accused of being basically a terrorist? I mean, this is...
So, basically, I'm autistic, I've got ADHD, complex PTSD, and post-traumatic psychosis, and pathological demand avoidance. I'm on universal credit in PIP, on maximum rates for what a single disabled person can claim. I have a council flat that's being paid for, well, technically housing association, and I get 12 hours of care and support from the council per week. And the fact that I'm being made to be a criminal and made out to be akin to ISIS or Al-Qaeda is an absolute joke. Like I said, it's kangaroo courts that they're trying to try us in, because the state, they don't care who you are, what your name is, where you've come from, whether you're employed, unemployed or what. If you're seen to be an enemy of the state, they will make out as if you are an enemy of the state, whether you like it or not. And that's what they're doing to us. They're making us out as if we're the enemy of the state.
There's a judicial review, which means, to me, that the law is in doubt. So why are they going ahead with all these, wasting the court's money, which is public money, by the way, wasting our money, wasting our time. Our time is precious to us. We're not young. We have to enjoy every minute, and we're having to come down here to fight. So it's just appalling that while there's a judicial review, they're still processing people like me under anti-terrorist legislation. Doesn't make sense. So that there's that. But if we do win, if Uda Amori wins the case to have it deprescribed, well, it makes a fool of the government. It makes a fool of the courts. And it makes us into, the heroes that we are. And Palestine, it helps Palestine, because at the end of the day, Palestine are the Palestinians are the heroes. They're the ones that are being genocided. And that's why we've got this massive battle on our hands. And we've got to win this, because otherwise, Netanyahu, Trump, Starmer, the whole crew of them, they win. And I'll tell you what, the British people, even if they're not against the genocide, even if they're not even anti-war, they will lose, because these laws will be used against us by trade unionists, for anyone who's protesting about anything. And this country will absolutely, well, it's down the pan already, but at the end of the day, this country will have no reputation whatsoever. And unless people stand up and fight in massive numbers, and that's why there's got to be more and more and more actions by the defender juries. And that, I think, it's only by ordinary people, it's always down to ordinary people, that we absolutely win these things.